Oh, hi, Alf. How are you?
Good, Cam. How are you going?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm not sure if you just caught my intro, but I was just saying, is that the idea today? Is to just
Yeah,
give a live demonstration?
it seems to be, mate. Yeah, like last week, a lot of these meetings popped up, and from what I understand, is to go through your product and in anticipation of the the major meeting which we're going to have in a couple. I think it's in a few weeks. No, next month, where we look at all of the software. So I think this is more of an intro.
Yep. Okay, great. Okay, no problem. So are you going to be sitting in and communicating, or am I just going by myself for the filming?
Uh, Up to you, mate, because I do believe that, yeah, that these sessions are being recorded because, like I said, they've all popped in last minute. So I'm thinking that there may be a few of the guys that are clashing with appointments. So
Yeah.
I'll be assuming that they're going to be looking at these at a later point.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So what's your role, Alf, and understanding of what's going on with this stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm an accounting director here in Melbourne. So
Okay.
I'm looking after a practice down here.
Yep.
We've got what is it? I've got 3 admin staff, 5 accounting staff, plus myself, and I've got one chap that he helps out with the SMSF. So he works independently as a contractor off site, but he does access our system. But we work that one off BGL 360. So
Gotcha.
that's pretty much where he spends most of his time. But yeah, so there'd be 9 of us in the accounting team down here.
Down in Melbourne. Okay. And are you guys like predominantly a compliance-driven firm, or are you guys doing much in the advisory space, or planning to?
Yeah, look, a lot of our work is compliance, although we're very much minimal work that we would do for individuals. So probably less than 20% of our revenue is generated from mum and dad tax returns. A lot of the work that we're doing is for small family businesses. That's where we spend most of our time.
Yeah.
As far as
Okay.
advisory is concerned, I probably pick up most of that work down here, whereas I've got to try to get the team focused on the compliance and obviously, keeping an eye out for opportunities or needs that we can identify as we're doing the compliance for other type of work.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That makes sense. And what about some of the guys up the coast? So is it my understanding that Maduras has many accounting firms, or is it predominantly financial planning, or?
Yeah, so under the brand, the banner of Maduras, there's a practice in Sydney, North Sydney, with David, the accounting director there. And then in Brisbane, we've got Pete in the Gold Coast, James in Upper Mount Gravatt, and those guys have taken on another practice just recently in the northern suburbs of Brisbane. So they've got 3 locations that the 2 of them are looking after. But as far as demographics of the types of clients that we've got, we're very, very similar.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So this is. I'm not sure how much you know, Alf, about Power BI. Do you know anything, or have you heard of it?
No, I'll be honest, mate, nothing at all.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I'll give you a run through of how it all works. But it's definitely for more advisory-driven firms
Yep.
than what you're probably describing. But if I just show you how it all works, it might trigger how it fits in. It might not,
Yes.
and I'll leave it with you. Does that sound like a good plan?
That sounds good.
Okay, mate. All right. Let me just see if I can share my screen. Screen 2. Okay. Just give me a yell out if you can see my screen, okay?
Yep, that's looking good, yep.
Okay, great. So like just as a background, I'm a chartered accountant and I've done 6 years initially in practice at mid-tier and also another 3 years in like smaller suburban style of firm. And then I moved into commerce and for a couple of years, and this is probably where Etani was born. So I'll just give you an introduction to Microsoft Power BI. I think it's like really important that you guys are all aware of this, even if it's not the right time to be looking at this yet. It's still something that you really need to be aware of and the traction that is gaining in this space. So I've been working with Power BI and Etani now for coming up about 4.5, nearly 5 years. And the idea behind this is it's about moving and transitioning your firm into business advisory. And the reason we want to move into business advisory is because using data to make decisions leads to better outcomes in productivity and also profitability of businesses. So Power BI, where does it fit? This is why I am pushing accounting firms to work with Microsoft Power BI. This is one of many different research firms, Gartner. There's lots of others that do this type of analysis on the BI analytics platforms, and it's the best in the world. I mean, that's the point behind it. It's the cream of the crop. And it's also very, very intuitive for you as an accounting firm because it's just like Excel. It's a Microsoft product, and Microsoft Excel and Power BI, they work in symmetry together. So it's like the next evolution of what you've used Excel for. I sometimes call it Excel on steroids as a medium for what Power BI is. So for some of you that may or may not be aware in the accounting space, there's lots of these analytics platforms that tap into the back of Xero and QuickBooks and Mob. These three that you can see on screen, Fathom, Spotlight, Fathom, and Future, they're some of the more popular ones, but there's lots of others. But it probably just gives you a bit of a position in the market about why you would use an analytics arm like this. So the two reasons I am encouraging accounting firms to go down a Power BI road is twofold. Is one, the custom nature of it, which I'll show you. It's really flexible with what you can design for your clients. And secondly, the data sources. So when you're playing with a Spotlight, generally it's just Xero data that you use, while as Power BI is a whole range of data sources like operational data, marketing data, website data, Excel data. If you've done a budget in Excel, there's lots of different ways that you can use Power BI to bring in different data sources. So the reason I think that's really important is that from what I'm watching, I think advisory to implement in an accounting firm is hard. I think it's hard as it is. And I think it's particularly hard when you use just Xero data, particularly if you take, for example, return on assets. Like if you told an SME business that their return on assets is, or their current ratio is this, 2.1, like to me, an SME would just be like, what am I going to do with that information? To me, I think that's hard yards to try and sell that type of service. As opposed to, if you look past Xero data and you say, let's go to the operational cold face, a good example is Simpro. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Simpro, but basically Simpro taps into the back of Xero and it's for tradies. So a tradie business would pick it up and they would get their plumbers or their electricians to put their timesheets in. It's like a project management software. So what would happen is that at the start of a day, you might have 10 plumbers and you would schedule your staff to do these 10 jobs for the day. And then during the day, the staff will put their timesheets in. So what we can do is take that scheduled time that we planned on them doing the scheduled time against the timesheet. So within the next day, we have got scheduled minus the actual. And so that's an immediate answer operationally about how that business is tracking. So what they can do with that is go straight to the plumber who was way over budget and say, what happened yesterday? Like, you're way over budget. Were you hungover, or was the job just a bad job to begin with? But to me, that's advisory, and that's the future of advisory. That is real. Like, that's a real impact on a small plumbing, suburban plumbing business using Simpro. That to me hits home, where you actually deliver advice and offer service that they can use to make better decisions. So I'll leave it at that on the presentation. I'll just show you a live demo now, but I just wanted to hit home on the appeal here about custom nature and the data sources. I'll just close this down. So the way Etani works is that we help you with Microsoft Power BI in lots of different ways. So if you have a look around the country at even mid-tier firms and small firms, and it's actually like a graveyard of people who have tried to pull off Power BI by themselves and have dropped $300,000 to $400,000 on this and had to walk away because it's so hard to get everything working. And so I'll show you why. What Etani does is we just make it really easy to get some of the things that have previously prevented firms from being able to do this. So the first thing straight off the blocks that is an immediate issue is, how do you get live data, whether that's Xero data or Simpro data, like I was talking, how do you get that flowing? And that's something that we take care of. So this is XYZ Chartered Accountants. And so you can add your clients into the system, and we open up, for example, Old Man Online Clothing, which is just a demo company that we've got. And here's where you invite the staff of that client. So the CEO and the bookkeeper and the board of directors, whoever it might be. And we come to your third-party applications and add. Now, this is where all the data sources are. So this is what I'm talking about, where it's click and point. You just select Xero, for example, and it will log into Xero for you. You select which client you're looking to do some work on, and we bring that data in. So you would, if you had a client that was a consolidated group, here's where you would add 15 Xero files or whatever it might be. So that's the first thing we take care of for you, is just turnkey live data flowing into the system for you. And then the second part is what you can see on the screen is templates. So we've got lots and lots of templates for all the data sources. So first step, live data. Second step, pre-built templates ready to go. But the power of these templates is that they're extendable. So this is one example of a really popular template that accounting firms use. It's just budget v actual. So quarterly or monthly meetings with your staff, budget v actual. And so the idea here is no more data dumping into Excel. It's just automated system. So here you are in March, comes June, we select June, and the whole system updates. So we don't have to do that admin piece to get anything ready for our meeting. It's just instant, if that makes sense. And then, so my internet might be a bit, is the internet for you okay, Alf? Is it not laggy? It's okay?
No, it's all going good, mate.
Okay, great. Anyway, so what this has done here on the screen is it's just updated to June, and that's basically your rollover, okay? The other really important point that I wanted to mark is the scalability of this stuff, because you have to imagine that you're using this with SME, so you have to be able to scale it fast. So with these templates, if you see here's the net profit template, I'm going to delete that off the page, and then I'm going to bring, for example, this cumulative sales view across. I'm going to delete that off the page, delete that. I might want to copy that and bring in something different. If I just do a copy on that and bring that across here. And so instead of slicing by quarters, I'm going to also slice by tracking categories, which is tracking categories is something quite popular done in Xero. So if we drag tracking categories into the system, here's our tracking categories. So now we select Queensland, for example, and the whole page interacts. Maybe we want Northern Territory as well. You can slice it all up. So that is the custom nature of it. So assume that we've just spent maybe an hour putting together the Medorus financial pack, like a board pack, where we made it how we made it. And then we wanted to scale this to another 20 clients. And that's where the power comes in, where we can go to our list of clients and it will come up with a list of clients. We'll grab a different client. So I know that I've got test client 19 in the system as well. So we select test client 19. And so basically what I'm doing here is I'm pointing at one client, and I've got that template there, but now I'm just saying use the same template but point at a different data source. So this is what I would classify as we go from one client and we scale it to lots. So as you can see, there's not many sales in 19, but you can see here at the top here, far away, there's different tracking categories because it's a different client, but we've got that same template that we spent all that time developing. So that's the scalability of it, which I just wanted to hit home with. And the other really important point that I wanted to explain to you is the operational data. So, Alf, what are you using in your offices? Are you using APS, or are you using Zero Practice Manager, or?
We're using Handysoft, so we're Sage.
Handysoft. Sage. Okay. You can imagine with operational data. So if we looked at, for example, Workflow Max, just for an example sake with timesheets. So this is where you can actually do, this is an accounting firm example where operational data, I'll just explain the power of operational data with timesheets and stuff. So here's like sales by partner or sales by manager. But the most important part of it is this, is looking at your fees in client groups. So if I just drill out of that, I'll show you how this all comes in. So here we're looking at sales this is an accounting firm, and here's all of the accounting firm's fees. So we're looking at the financial year 19, but we might not want to look at financial 19. We might want to select 18 or just the month of May. And so the whole page updates. And then we've got total sales, chargeable hours, average charge out rate, job turnaround time. These are some of the more popular KPIs that you can use. So if we drill down into Amazon, and then that's the client, so the client group, and then the actual client where the fees were, and this is the particular job, for example, that was raised. We don't have to look at that one. We can drill out of that one. But if we select, for example, this job 0056, and here's all the staff that have put timesheets against the clock. So Erica's done the most damage, etc. So this is where you can really drill in and search for these clients. It's really interactive and it's live and dynamic. So really powerful, the operational side of things. I hope that's hitting home. Is that all making sense to you, Alf?
Yep. Yes, it is.
Okay, cool. So that's how the system works. And then basically where Etani fits in then is the delivery to your client. So we might go to, if we come across here, we might go to this sales performance, and I'll just show you how you can deliver this to a client. So we look at this sales performance, for example, dashboard, and let's say we want to deliver that to one of our, we want to deliver it to our, to the client. So let's save it as sales performance. Okay, oops, didn't spell that right, but anyway, 2019 FY, important. You can name these whatever you want. So I'm going to call that, and I'm going to save it. And then what happens is that that's saved. We come into that particular client in our CMS and come to the custom report list. And that's going to load up. So if we come down the bottom, where is it? Here we go. So just down here in the bottom right. So here's the report that I've just saved. Sales important. So we're going to go live on it. Okay. So I'll go live. And here when you go live, maybe here's the clients that are in the system for Old Man. Maybe we don't want Fran to see this particular one because she's a bookkeeper. So maybe we just give it to test client and we go submit, we go live on it. So now test client 19 is going to be able to see that. And so they can come to the content management system and view the report through the CMS. So this is one way of looking at that particular report. So here it is. So test client 19 can now see this and they can play with it. They're not in Power BI, so they can't edit anything. So they can't steal all the IP that you've spent time on, which is really important. But they can consume the report and everything can be changed. So they can look back at what you've designed for them and it all interacts. They can also look at this through the mobile app. If I bring that up, I'll just minimize this stuff. So here's the mobile app. as well. So this is, you can imagine the client's also holding it on their phone, so they would get a push notification for that report. And when we go into the report list, it's just here. So it's just gone green. And so they can view that same report as well if they wanted to through the phone, which is, if you just give it a moment and it will load up. And so this is mobile friendly. It's slightly different view. There's a mobile view and a desktop view, but it's the same stuff that flows through. So, and that's the delivery of this system is having a Medoris custom mobile application like this, where you can deliver this stuff, is really like a powerful marketing tool. It also protects your IP, and it's also significantly cheaper to do it through this means rather than going directly through Power BI. So that's basically it, Alf. I mean, hopefully I've hit home on the main points about how this system works. It's a business advisory platform to deliver advisory services to your client base, and it just interacts with Microsoft Power BI to make life easy for you. Did you have any questions, Alf?
No. So okay. So if I understand it, Power BI is a Microsoft product, but you guys have actually come up with this dashboard or the dashboard and the reports. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I mean, Power BI in itself is a raw tool. Like it's not it. We handle the live data for you. We handle the templates so that you've got a starting ground. We handle the delivery vehicle, which is would be like this, like the Medoris mobile application. So, and we also handle the training to help you guys work with it all. So, yeah, that's how the system works. It's definitely for firms that are very aggressive in the business advisory space, that are they would have a compliance arm, but they would be looking to grow their business advisory or already have an existing advisory arm that they're looking for this type of advanced level of business advisory.
Okay. Yeah, we did see something similar to this, and they may be using the same engine. Is that Handysoft was plugging a product called Practice Intelligence, which again seems to have extracted info from the time and billing module to give you an overview of how the practice was doing. So things like your top clients, your productivities, all those sort of things, rather than relying on the standard reports in time and billing. This seems to be pulling the info somewhere else, and you've got customizable reports.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. I don't do very much at all with anything to do with Sage or Handysoft. Our client base is mid-tier, virtual CFOs, and zero practice firms in particular, who have got a 90% strike rate of clients in the cloud, and are tapping into zero-based add-ons as well, operational and CRMs and things like that. That's probably where we sit. So I'm not very familiar with what Handysoft's doing, I'm sorry, but it could possibly be that they are tapping into Microsoft Power BI.
I just remember seeing it, and we did use it for a little while, but that as far as being able to put together the reports ourselves, that was not, it was something that, yes, you could do it, but you would have to go and learn it, which is, I think, what you're saying, that, we could get this Power BI, but to actually go ahead and try and learn it and put these things together would be really not worth our time.
And I guess you have to be thinking about like where you want to be in the future as well, and how important advisory is to you. the the direction of where accounting is going and where you want to take your firm, I guess, is basically the main question, and also your client base. You know, do they have an appetite to pay for this type of service?
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, that's the big question in the game, isn't it? Clients aren't going to specifically ask for this because they don't know what they don't know what they don't know. But yeah, it's how much are they prepared to pay for this information, if anything at all, because they might go, well, no, you know, it's all well and good and nice, but I'm not willing to make that purchase.
Yeah.
You know, we've used products in the past. You know, Profit Optimizer was something that I used years ago. Great product, but again, way too complicated for the client. And still too, you know, when you put it to the client, it was always a hard sell.
Yeah.
You know, we're now using Cash Flow Story as a much simpler version of delivering that the information. But again, you know, it's not every, well, it's actually not that it's not every client. It's the minority of clients that you can put this in front of.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've always been disappointed with the likes of Spotlight and Futurely and Fathom, because they've misled accounting firms into thinking that what is advisory is basically adding 10% to your compliance fee and giving your clients these turnkey cookie cutter style dashboards and expecting that they'll pay for it. I think that's really misleading and it's dumb. And I'm not surprised that it's a struggle, as opposed to a platform like this, which comes at a much higher level of involvement where you've actually got to be trained in it. However, you actually can design data that's not out of zero and more in the operational stuff and actually add direct value to them and talk to your clients about what they need.
Yeah, so, yeah, you're right. That's yeah, and they are. You use the word, yeah. I like the way you use the word cookie cutter, because they do seem to be all. Yeah, it's you know, and as much as they are, you know, in particular, Futurely, when you look at it, you go, oh, it's a really pretty product. You look at it and you go, oh, okay, you know, it catches attention, the way it presents things and how colourful it is, and the way the info is actually presented. But again, I look at it and I think, you know, if I scratch the surface on it, I go, well, yeah, so what? I mean, it's a little bit like a fishing lure, catches more fishermen than fish. You know, and us accountants are suckers when we see pretty products.
Yeah. Well, look, going forward into the future, I mean, we don't know this compliance versus advisory. We don't actually know what's going to happen. Nobody does,
No.
because I'm of the opinion that in 5 years' time, it's not the question of whether compliance is there. It's actually the issue is the commoditization of the product. And I think that's a genuine issue for firms to consider, is that we have historically always stood out as technically skilled and premium product. And I think that's what's changing, is that in 5 years' time, it's already happening right now, where compliance is becoming commoditized, where it's difficult to stand out. And it's happened already, I believe, with individual tax returns. That is a commoditized product where you need to be very careful about what you charge. And I think it's beginning to happen right now with superannuation. It's becoming commoditized, where you are price sensitive on what you can charge a client. And I reckon it's just the natural evolution in the SME space that it becomes a commoditized product. And so how do you actually add additional benefit to become back into that premium sort of product space where you can charge a premium for being really good at what you do? And that's what's happening right now with this software, is that it's the early adopters that are picking that up and being able to have this skill set that stands them out from the pack. So,
yep. what's to stop someone like Zero or Myob? I mean, I know Zero is probably very much, they're probably more inclined this way, is that, you know, they build this sort of stuff into their software, you know, where you'll get to a point where they'll have the recommendations. They'll be able to see, okay, when you see these indicators in a P&L, a balance sheet, or you can pull this info out there, you know, you can give the suggestion, or the software itself can give the suggestion to the client. I mean, you know, we're seeing it with these, like a virtual assistant almost. You know, I know QuickBooks had one. They call it is it QB or something like that? You know, I know that, and I know that Xero is looking at something like that as well. You know, this is where I think, you know, as far as giving that extra a bit of advice or information, you know, I reckon the bigger risk is these type of players.
I personally don't think so. I mean, for me, Xero is a bookkeeping software. It's not in the realms of what Microsoft is doing. Microsoft and Amazon and Google are the ones that are playing in the AI space and developing this stuff. The AI that you're seeing on the market in accounting firms, I mean, all I've seen it do is spit out absolute nonsense. It's useless. And that's not to say that that's not going to change going forward. But I mean, I guess back on my initial point with Xero data, I personally think Xero data for business advisory is boring and difficult to sell. And I think it's going to continue to become boring and difficult to sell even in the future, because I don't think SME care about their current ratio or their profit and loss. I think that they care about the operational data where, you know, they've got granular detail about timesheets and profit margins, which that stuff is not in Xero. Profit margins for selling a product or a timesheet for a service-based business, none of that is in Xero. So overall, I think that Xero and Myob and QuickBooks, they're bookkeeping softwares. They're not reporting tools. And so they will add on reporting tools. They'll add on a reporting arm to try and get some turnkey cookie cutter style dashboards. But it's not going to be like this with Microsoft's BI platform or the other BI platforms that are around, where you can manipulate everything and make it custom to suit the client. Hey, and back on what I said, we don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen either, by the way. I'm not trying to be, you know, over the top. This is just my observations, because I've been down that path. I've worked in accounting firms and I've tried to get information out of Xero, and I found selling advisory with that type of information really hard. While as going back to my initial story with that plumbing business, that was a really easy sell, because they knew, they knew that how important that was to make decisions like that, where the scheduled time versus the actual time. I mean, that to them was just like given to them, where every day they can just log in and see that information. It was just so useful to them. And like Xero is not capable of delivering that type of information. And the only other point I'd add was that cash flow, different story as well, by the way. My comments on Xero business advisory is not including cash flow. Cash flow is its own beast, and you need Xero data for cash flow analysis, whether that's short-term or 12-month three-way forecasts and stuff. That's a different area that I'm not making my comments on. Anyway, it's a really interesting space. Yeah, I appreciate your time, Alf. Hopefully it was useful to sort of just share with you how it all works.
Yeah, look, oh, absolutely. You know, you can never know enough about this stuff, and it's knowing what's available out there and what options that we have, because again, if that's changing so quickly, and I reckon it'd almost be a full-time job just trying to keep up with what's going on.
I do. I mean, I guess that's where, like,
Yeah, we're stuck. We're heads down, bum up in the office, and it's only when you take time out of the office that you go to an expo or something like that, and you go, okay, right, I've seen this product, that product, and that product, and this is what they can do. But yeah, if you don't do that regularly enough, you lose track of what's out there.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Yeah, it's that's why I guess the people like Clarity Street, and there's so many of these cloud people that are just trying to help you because the choices are so huge now that they actually you hire someone to give you an app stack for your firm because it's just impossible otherwise. There's just too many choices.
Funnily enough, I actually have a meeting set up with these Clarity Street guys.
Up to you, yeah.
Yeah, so a friend of mine's put me onto them, and I'm having a discussion with them. I think either this week or next week. So just to see what they do.
I tell you what I want to know about Clarity Street is they make recommendations on their app stack. I want to know if they're getting paid off by the suppliers for their recommendation. Because then their whole business model is shattered. I'm like, they recommend, Practice Ignition, but are they getting paid off by PI? So does that make their recommendation genuine? Anyway, I don't know what's going on behind the scene, but.
Good question, and we probably don't really, we probably know the answer already.
Yeah.
All right, Cam, appreciate the time and going through the product. That was good.
Yeah, no problem at all. All right, well, thank you for your time, and thanks Emily for filming that, and